Well, here in Zechariah chapter 6, we've got some more powerful metaphors to help us understand their day and age as well as our future also. So let's jump in. Verse 1, and I turned and lifted up mine eyes. So this is probably still the same revelation that he's had for about 3 chapters now. And looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains. And the mountains were mountains of brass. So let's think about this. Okay, so 2 mountains of brass and 4 chariots coming down in between them. This is really interesting to think about this. Okay, I want you to think about an idea that from Israel's history on this. When Joshua, the king, he was the ruler basically after Moses, when he was bringing the children of Israel into the land. There was, after they crossed the river Jordan, there was a valley they had to go through. And they had the 2 mountains, I think it was Ebal and Gerizim, I think were the 2 mountains. If that's not right, feel free to correct me in the comments. But what he did is he had half the priests on one, half the priests on the other. On one of them, they were giving the blessings, reciting and recounting all the blessings that God had for them. On the other one is all the cursings from God. So this was the valley of decision, basically, that they went through. As they entered the promised land, they were given this contrast of choice, opposing forces, okay, blessings and curses. Your choice to either go towards the blessings or curse, whichever one. You had to decide what to do on that. So if we think about this idea, maybe this is the valley of decision. This is kind of a metaphor of it, okay? This is where the Israelites entered the land, the promised land, is through this valley of decision, basically. So verse 2, in the first chariot were red horses, and in the second chariot, black horses. So now we get more metaphor of horses, okay? Remember, this might be similar to the 4 horsemen in Revelations. We mentioned that the other chapter as well. War and bloodshed is usually your red horse. Okay, the second chariot was black horses. Famine and destruction is usually come in the black horses. The third chariot, verse 3, were white horses. Okay, which is that chaos, confusion type things that happened. White horses are your peace, prosperity. In the fourth chariot, grizzled and bay horses. So that's the white horses is the conquest, the peace. The gray or speckled horses are the horses of chaos and confusion that we saw 2 chapters ago, basically. So these are the 4 chariots with these horses coming in. And so we see, actually, it's interesting, the first one was destruction. So this is the order that they're going in. War and bloodshed, famine and destruction, then chaos and confusion, then conquest and peace, then chaos and confusion is the order that they've gone in, basically. At least is how he's telling him here. That's not necessarily the order they're riding through the valley in. Verse 4, then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Lord? And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the 4 spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth. Now, this is a book called The Signs of the Times. We learn some more things about this. So these are 4 servants. The JST in Zechariah changes 4 spirits of the heavens to the 4 servants of the heavens, basically. So now, where was this quote again now? Sorry, the book Signs of the Times. I distracted myself there. It says, this major change, the first, is vital to an understanding of these verses, or the change in the JST. Servants of the Lord are priesthood holders who labor to bring about the purposes of God. The servants came from between 2 mountains, 2 places where the Lord will judge the nations. Valley of decision concept idea. Okay, and which were made of brass, which is a symbol of firmness. From Kyle and Delitzsch, they talk about that. The 4 servants went throughout the earth in chariots drawn by horses of different colors. The black horses, the only ones not previously mentioned, seem to represent death or mourning. John the Revelator also spoke of the four servants or angels who stood at the four corners of the earth. This is Revelations chapter 7. On December 6, 1832, the Savior told the prophet Joseph Smith that these angels were crying unto him day and night for permission to reap down the earth and burn the tares. This is section 86. The Doctrine and Covenants, you can get that. So these are the four horsemen, the four people that John saw. And Joseph Smith gets a revelation that says that these four people basically are telling the Lord, why are you not why we need to do this? This is bad. They're looking at the world going, this is bad. We got to destroy it. Why are you waiting so long? Zechariah's chapter 6 states that the angels could not go forth upon the earth until given permission by the Lord. So that's what we see here. The which go forth from before all the Lord of all the earth. So 61 years after the revelation in section 86 of the Doctrine and Covenants was given, President Wilford Woodruff declared that the Lord had released those destroying angels, and they were then upon the earth, separating the tares from the wheat in preparation for the burning that would soon take place. God has held the angels of destruction for many years, lest they should reap down the wheat with the tares. But I want to tell you now that those angels have left the portals of heaven, and they stand over this people and this nation now, and are hovering over the earth, waiting to pour out the judgments. And from this very day they shall be poured out. Calamities and troubles are increasing in the earth, and there is a meaning to these things. Remember this and reflect upon these matters. If you do your duty, and I do my duty, we will have protection and shall pass through the afflictions in peace and safety. That was a talk he gave in 1894 to called the Temple Workers, basically. Now, President Joseph Fielding Smith said, now I want to make some comments in regard to the statement by President Woodruff and this parable, the parable of the wheat and the tares in section 86. The Lord said that the sending forth of these angels was to be at the end of the harvest, and the harvest is the end of the world. Now that ought to cause some very serious reflections, and the angels have been pleading, as I have read it to you, before the Lord to be sent on their mission. Until 1893, the Lord said to them no, and then he set them loose. According to the revelation of President Woodruff, the Lord sent them out on that mission. So they're out. It's time to go. It's time to move and do things according to what President Woodruff has said, basically. So let's jump in and look at this more here. Okay, so now we get verse 6. The black horses, which are therein, go forth into the north country. The white go forth after them, and the grizzled go forth toward the south country. So now we're learning about where these chariots are going. If you remember, the black horse was bringing famine and destruction to the north country. Now, probably Jerusalem is what's represented as the center of the compass, and so north would be north of that. Is one way to think about it, but we're not 100% sure exactly what it means. But then you realize that after famine and destruction, is conquest and peace. That's the white horse that goes after them. And then the grizzled horse goes toward the south country. So it goes in a whole different direction. That is chaos and confusion in the south. Okay, that's what we see in verse 7. All right, now let's jump on to, so let me, I got a quote here for a second, thought. Going west is the sea and east is the desert, so north and south are the only directions you can go from Jerusalem until you get out a ways. Then you can spread out over all the land, basically. So they're thinking about this idea of it's going north and going out. It's a chariot. It's not going to ride through the sand because it gets stuck. It's not going in the water because it's going to drown. It's going to go north and then spread out. And the other one's going to go south and then spread out, basically. So that's an important thing to think about from Jerusalem as the center. Now verse 8, then cried he upon me and spake unto me, saying, behold, these that go toward the north country have quieted my spirit in the north country. So the famine and destruction has quieted his spirit. When we look at this, so they calmed him down. So this may be a good message. Okay, this may be like, oh, he's okay. the famine, destruction, people are repenting, they're improving, it's getting better. Sin is going away. It's like, oh, okay, it's working. It's working. Verse 9, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, take of them of the captivity, even of Heldai, of Tobijah, and of Jediah, which are come from Babylon, and come thou the same day, and go into the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah. Okay, so now this are people coming from Babylon, so they're gathering. Okay, and then he says here, then take silver and gold, and make crowns, and set them upon the head of Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest. So now he's saying, take some of these people that are part of the captivity, and come to Josiah, and we're going to make crowns and set them on the head of Joshua. So verse 12, and speak unto him, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch, Joshua, Jesus, same thing. We talk about this in chapter 2, I think it is, when we talk about the branch. Joshua means Jesus. And so they're saying that his name is the branch. And he shall grow out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Verse 13, he shall build the temple of the Lord, and shall bear the glory, and sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be a priest on his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. So remember, Christ will be the king and the priest, and bring peace to everybody. Verse 14, and the crowns shall be to Helem, and to Tobijah, and to Jediah, and to Hen, the son of Zephaniah, for a memorial in the temple of the Lord. The Dummelow says on this one, a party of Jews had just come from Babylon. Zechariah is instructed to take part of the silver and gold which they have brought for the temple, to make a set of circlets for Joshua the high priest. Thus he will more fully be a type of one to come, who is both priest and king to his people. So this is gathering of Israel will be like a memorial to God. Think of all the work God has done to help his people out. The scattering is to help them to be humble, to change their perspectives. Then they're going to realize they need to change and improve. Then the gathering will commence, and that gathering is a tribute to God of the work that he has done through all time up to that point, that he's gathering people back. This is the harvest time for all the work you've done to prepare for the harvest, basically. That's what this is representing. So that's what we see here. And in verse 15, they that are far off shall come and build in the temple of the Lord, and ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. And this shall come to pass if ye will diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God. So this isn't guaranteed, these blessings. If you want to be a part of it, you need to make good choices. Follow the commandments, do what's right, and you can be a part of this grand plan as well. Again, what God does is what he does. It's which side of that scale are we going to be on? Are we going to be on the good side or the bad side of that scale? That's the only choice that needs to be answered. And that's where the harvesting comes in. Are you a good fruit or are you a bad fruit? Abraham 3:25, everything in our life boils down to that. You've got this, Isaiah talks about that. You've got contrast. You follow God, you don't follow God. Which are you going to do? That's the binary choice. That's the options we have. Okay? Everything in life is designed to help us answer that. Are we going to go towards following God, or are we going to go away from following God? That's what it all comes down to, and that's kind of what this represents, basically. So, with that, let's jump over to the next chapters. We continue to learn from Zechariah.